Put a little bit of the rub, nigga, I gotta be safe.
Let's get to sports talk.
Criteria that is considered by the playoff committee. Conference championships won. Strength of schedule, that's a big one. Head-to-head competition. Comparative outcomes of common opponents. Other relevant factors are in place, such as key injuries that are applied when comparing teams of similar records and pedigree. Look, we're going to talk expansion in a moment, but Joel, let's start with trying to fine-tune the current 14 playoff system.
Yeah, exactly. And as Tim just pointed out, this system in college football has been a constant evolution, and this could be the next evolution of the college football playoff. What if rather than just the 4 best teams, guys, we took the 4 best champions, and we took some of the subjectivity out of the college football playoff committee? In my system, all you would do is take the 4 best champions. You would take the 5 conference champs of the Power 5. You would take Notre Dame if they have 11 or more wins. You would take an undefeated group of 5 champion if they also have a Power 5 win during the regular season, and you would put them in a pool of teams. So in this situation, you would have 5 to maybe at the most 8 teams that then the committee would take the 4 best from. You would take the pool of champions. You would create the playoff from that pool of champions. I really think it would do 4 things. 1, you'd be able to retain the importance and in some case increase the value of the regular season. You would retain and increase the value of the conference championship games. You would not increase the number of games as it relates to player safety, and you would not be extending the season into the calendar of the academic year or the recruiting year. So I think that small change from 4 best teams to 4 best champions could be a nice positive move.
Yeah, and I absolutely believe conference championship games should matter, and right now they really don't. We've seen it twice. Coach's team a couple years back, and then Alabama a year ago, not win their conference and get into the college football playoff. That makes this sport and this playoff system very regionalized, where you have multiple conferences and multiple teams continuing to be left out. And Joel, I think with this criteria and this proposal, at least the 5 Power 5 champs have a seat at the table. Now then it becomes subjective and the committee takes the 4 best, but right now some of these conferences are just being completely left out.
Well, and I think
I feel like they should expand it to 6. You see how they just got leave 2 out? I think they should just had the 2 beat in. I think they should treat it like the NFL. The teams travel to that opponent home and play a football game, and then advance to play in a bowl game against a team that win at their home. It's the same thing to me. Let's treat it like the NFL a little bit. Like you travel to a person's home and play at their house. Then you just move on and play, in a bowl game or something. The first four to get that spot play for a right to go to a championship game. Just treat it different to me. Just allow more 6 players in, like with 6 teams in. Instead of just have a 4. Or if you ain't gonna do that, if you're not gonna play a conference championship game or not make it, don't allow them in. I know Notre Dame don't have no conference championship game. I know they're an independent team. I just feel like if the conference championship game don't matter, what's the point of having them play? What's the point of having them playing in it? If it don't matter, I feel like they should just expand it and have it be 16. You go ahead and play at that opponent home, and then you play for a right to go to a championship game. Just treat it like the NFL, make it different a little bit.
the thing to me that stands out, though, is you talked about one of those teams that got in Alabama. They won the national championship. So if they would have been left on the outside, would have been left out one of the top, if not the top team that season. Coach, I thought you guys should have gotten in that year, even though you guys didn't win your division or your conference. So to me, we removed subjectivity when we had the BCS. And you guys know that. That still didn't satisfy everyone else. Now we brought it back. Clearly, it hasn't solved all the issues that we've got. I think, Coach, there's something that you want to bring up that's really important, along with Reggie.
Yeah, and also I think you must win your conference championship, like you just said. I want to see Power 5 teams play Power 5 teams only. I don't want to see Alabama beat Southern Mississippi 49-7. That does nothing for me. And
you don't like Clemson Wofford today?
No, I don't want to see Clemson
like
Wofford today.
Okay.
That does nothing for me.
Is that a bye week?
It's a bye week. It's a bye week.
Come on,
Coach, I'm going to dub you the czar of college.
I understand where Reggie Bush coming from, but you should give everybody an opportunity, though. I understand them are the bigger schools, but everyone should have an opportunity to make that playoff. The right to play for it. Whatever the result is, that's the result. Everyone should get a shot of making it. I understand what Reggie Bush saying, but everyone I feel like should get an opportunity to play in that playoffs. Switch up a little bit. Give everybody an opportunity. You'll never know what can happen in the playoffs.
Football right now. You have complete control over the landscape. Objective number one for you on day number one would be what?
Well, this is from experience in I was knee deep in the BCS era, obviously of Florida, then the college football playoff era, and it's a failed system right now. It's good, and I think the committee does a good job. However, the number one issue is uniform scheduling. Some teams or conferences are playing 9 conference games, some 8. Some teams never go on the road and just play very weak schedules. And then you hear things like subjectivity, like the look test. And my head wants to pop off my shoulder when I hear it. I'm like, who is equipped to make that decision? And what are you looking at? Yeah. Do you understand when you play a great team on the road, LSU goes to Texas to play, that's much more difficult than playing home against when you're picked to win by 55 points. So whether you go 4 playoff, 8 playoff teams, whatever it is, the number one issue has got to be, and I see it happening. I see teams are starting to see Alabama scheduled Florida State. You're starting to see home and home games. That's good for the game. That's good for the student-athlete experience. We've had kids go to Texas, to USC, to Virginia Tech, to Oklahoma. They should be able to see that. Yeah. You're starting to see attendance. No one wants to see, when you look up at that game, that's when you stay home, when you're picked to win by 65 against a lower-level team. Yeah. That's not good for the game. Yeah. That's not, and I've been on the other side. That's not safe for the players playing in that game. What are you doing? Sure. Don't do that. Yeah. And I'm not saying don't ever schedule an FCS, but don't get rewarded for it. Yeah. You get rewarded in a look test because you threw for 350 yards a team that's not very good. Uniform scheduling, play Power 5 home and home.
I agree with Urban Meyer. I understand Alabama is one of the best teams. I understand they got a lot of national championships in a trophy case. But I feel like their schedules don't be strong enough until they get to the SEC championship game. That's their toughest game right there. The right to go to the playoffs. I understand who they are, but their schedule is too weak to me. It's too many teams that get in the playoffs, their schedules don't be strong enough. I think only they get in because who they are. They don't get wrong, they always gonna be a good team. That's a lot of teams that's like that. They have a weak schedule, have a way to get to the playoffs because they play all these weak schedules. There's plenty of teams that play that. Like, you gotta play hard schedule games. Like, go against a team that's ranked, like, on the road, man. Don't play these weak schedules and get an easy way in. And that happens every year to me. And I see it. I'm not taking away nothing from them. But they schedule always be weak to me. They might don't say it, but they schedule be weak. I understand they are the powerhouse team. I understand they resume is nice, but to me, you get them too much of easy path with these weak schedules.
And whether you go 4-team or 8-team, I think the subjectivity is going to be minimized because you're playing the similar schedule.
Yeah. I know we get frustrated with some of the FCS or Group of 5 opponents that teams play in the non-conference. The bottom line is, one, it's good for those schools, right? They get a little bit of money out of it, and you still have some games that you got to fill in on your schedule. So my whole thing would be, don't play them in November, okay? Once we get into October, November, that's where your conference games should be played. So more uniformity too with those non-conference. Make everyone play them if you're going to play them in September. I want to ask you, though, Coach, quickly, because at Ohio State, you guys went from playing 8 to 9. Is it that difficult to change the schedule and add an additional conference game?
No, and someone said, well, how do you do that? And commissioners, You have 5 Power 5 commissioners, and they're very, very powerful people. The commissioner's job is to protect that conference. You know, I was with Mike Slive and Greg Sankey in the SEC, and Jim Delaney, obviously, in the Big Ten. Jim Delaney's job, among the big picture, is protect the Big Ten. And so much of that has to do with money, television rights, because there's 36 sports at Ohio State. You have to make money, and the Big Ten does. SEC seems that there's fewer number of sports. The focus is more on playoffs, and that's why you see some of these FCS teams. And we used to play, I remember we played Citadel before, nothing against Citadel, but we're getting ready to play our rival, Georgia, and you're playing, you schedule differently. So yeah, it is much different. It's a much different perspective. How do you get it done? 5 commissioners, all you need is majority. If 3 vote to go to 8, it has to be 8 or 9. And you can adjust schedules. It has to be 8 or 9. If everybody says, we're going to go 8, go 8. It needs to be a level playing field. And let's go play. Then all of a sudden you start to see this subjectivity taken out of it. I think the word look test should be thrown out. Don't do that. I think there should be a point system. If I go on the road and beat Texas at Texas, that's a big time win. That's why LSU's ranked where they are. That's why the guy, Joe Burrow's a Heisman Trophy candidate. When I would go recruit, I don't want to see games against when you're picked to win by. Go evaluate a player, Reggie Bush playing against a team that's inferior. What good is that?
I will say this, and this is the pushback I would give you, Coach, is that I'm all for balanced schedules. I really am. The problem is that there's no reason that the SEC should accommodate everybody else because everybody else went for the money grab. Mm-hmm. You know why the Pac-12, the Big Ten, and the Big 12 have 9 conference games in the regular season? Television revenue. Yeah. That's why they went to 9, to increase the number of important games so that networks like us would give them more money so they could fund those sports you were talking about. Yeah. The SEC is getting their revenue because they're better as a competitive conference. They're winning championships and scheduling 4 national championships. If I would...
I feel like when you playing as well in different lower conference and you put the work in and have a good record at the end of the year, I feel like you should have an opportunity to get in. Play a team so you can get into the playoffs. That's how I feel like they should do. Give them little schools a chance. I understand they're not a powerhouse like the teams that always make it, but you give them opportunity just like you give everybody else opportunities. I get it. Only thing you can play for is like a Rose Bowl, not the playoffs. Because you ain't in the type of big school or big conference or anything. That's the type of bowls they give them. But I feel like if they put the work in just like everyone else, I feel like they should get an opportunity to play for right, be in the playoffs. Give them a shot. Because you could never know. A team can't upset a big school in the playoffs. Because they know it's on the line. But you just got to give them an opportunity to play for it. You never know how it turned out. It don't matter if it be a blowout or a close game. As long as they get a shot because the work they put in to get the winning records.
The SEC, there's no reason to change my model just because the other conferences went for a money grab. I think that's a pushback you would get from Greg Sankey.
And I've been there, there's no doubt. But that's not SEC, in all due respect, doesn't rule the world. That's just 5 different power conferences that, that's great. Yeah. And Sankey would do that. And I don't blame him because they've had 2 teams in the playoffs. The Big Ten the last 2 years had 0.
Yeah.
Now there's a lot more money being made, but once again, is this about the student-athlete experience and doing what's right, or is it about money?
Right. I think there's 2 things we're battling here. Equality, right? Trying to equal schedules across all Power 5s and how to go about doing that. And then equity. What's fair? Because as we look at the 4-team playoff now, when you tell me, well, you can win your conference, but you still don't get into the playoff, right? They're not a potential that could happen. We've seen it happen before. That seems unfair to me. It seems unfair to a lot of the players who are in that position where when you win your conference, you should have an opportunity to go play for a national championship.
Part 1 in the book.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoy that clip, make sure you click subscribe somewhere down here.